Hey y'all, I'm trying to like play this game and try to go live on YouTube at the same time. So, you know, yeah, y'all get to see a little bit behind the scenes, and yeah, I am really slipping. Okay, I'm gonna try to hurry up and get this going. So, what's up, everybody that's watching live? This is tonight's aftermath, and I'm just trying to finish this game before I have to record it on Twitch. Well, be live on Twitch, I should say. Yeah, I'm just like way behind. I guess I thought I'll be done by then, but apparently not. No. Oh crap. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, guys. And I think the internet where I'm at is like really funny, and yep, I kind of figured that's what's going to happen. So, pardon me. I'm gonna try to. Hopefully, I don't like get kicked out or anything. But let me see if I can adjust. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to do that one. Oh crap. Okay. Yeah, I forgot the. Yeah, that's What the? How did Amazon come into play? That's funny. You guys just give me a moment. I'm gonna set up for Twitch, and now we're ready. Be right back. That's fine. Sorry guys, I'm back. Let's see. Like I was trying to finish my game, but then again it stopped on me like as always. So there we go. Twitch. So we're gonna talk about, the results of Backlash. Somebody did pass away today, wrestling wise. We'll talk about that. Like 20 minutes ago, like an article popped up like who the Bucks going to get for their 47 pick, which is is now official that they will get that 47 pick. And let's see what I was talking about. We're gonna like look at like a few videos of a certain person. Like he graded the Bucks, and he also he's on a freaking warpath. Just say that. Let's see. Let me do this, and also, you guys gonna like watch the Superman? No, not Superman trailer, but the Peacemaker trailer of season 2. So this will be like my full first time fully like watching it in style of like watching it from the cutthroat room and stuff like that. What in the world? So I don't know how long it's gonna be. Black and white. Hey, what's going on? I'm just like setting up here before we can officially, go. So all the women that's out there that's watching right now, happy Mother's Day if you're a mother. Without you guys, there'd be no strong man out there. And hey, what's up, Cole? Yeah, I kind of figured because of the location I'm at, so that's probably why it's like seemed kind of weak. Mainly because the location I'm at, so that's probably why you see it's like a little bit weak. So I apologize. Um, King Cowboy GT, I like that GT. Hey, what's going on? And hey, they got police out there already. It's crazy. Somebody's getting arrested.
Who is?
Somebody's getting arrested.
Yay!
So yeah, they probably gonna come out and like come to the window, see the car, or let's just. Oh, okay, yeah, they can see it then.
No, they drove like into the.
Hey, what's going on, Fair and Rash Kids? Hey, what's going on? It just kicked me out of Twitch. So
Happy Mother's Day, people.
yeah, that's the wife saying Happy Mother's Day. So we're at a different location than we normally are, just trying to celebrate the beauty that is my wife.
Oh, God bless you.
I don't think it could have been something that bad because they even had the sirens blaring when that was the case.
I don't know what's going on. I just saw like flashing lights, and I just had to look and like, oh, police outside. Look like they stopping somebody or something's going on. And then again, they probably stop people.
Retired.
Oh,
Oh.
so we're at a location that is very rare. Stuff happens and people probably driving stupid, so that could be like probably one of the reasons that that person got stopped. I can't believe that happened. So let's go back. Okay, there we go, and I'm gonna start. And we don't get all these ducks in a row, so y'all stay in the beginning, but some of y'all just leave. Like, come on now. What's up, everybody that's watching on WFSO 1? We only gonna do just this one channel for Twitch tonight. I just think right now, like with the location I am in the area that I'm set up with, I think it's better off just do the live on YouTube, pre-recorded episode on YouTube, and also live on Twitch. So you ever want to join the Twitch channel, just go to WFSO on Twitch, join there, and do like mostly like live content, almost every single day. If I say almost. So for those who's watching on Twitch right now, we're gonna talk about WWE Backlash, like the results of it. And plus, somebody did pass away today. That was in the wrestling business. A national talented star. We'll talk about him. Some Bucks news, and check out a couple of videos of the person, the YouTuber that people love to hate, including myself. Talk about the Thunderbolts, how they did their second weekend. A little bit of Superman news. Some DC news as well, and watching the trailer of Peacemaker season 2. So we're gonna do that. So let's start with WWE Backlash. Just talk about the results of that. Yeah, of course, some people can't be happy about the PLE and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get to like my opinions on it later. So we're just gonna talk about the results. If you didn't see it, so if you're planning on seeing it, you might as well just like log off right now. If you don't want to be spoiled if you didn't see it yet. Or you didn't see it and just don't care, just want to hear results, stay on. United States Championship, Jacob Fatu was, the United States champion. Defended, kind of like almost successfully, but he still, retained, beat LA Knight, and he actually pinned LA Knight. And also beat Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest in the Fatal 4-Way. So it seems like the Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre feud is far from over. So, sooner or later, they're probably going to have a match and stuff. Well, no, check out 5-2 like pinning LA Knight, and I did say this on if y'all saw the live watch party. I said that it looks like LA Knight may be done with the United States championship and may just rise up and end up with Money in the Bank. So, and that is like the next PLE, but not the next big event, because the next big event is of course Saturday night's main event. So we're gonna talk about a little bit about. I'm about to talk about a little bit about that, which was mentioned during the backlash that Jey Uso is going to defend his world heavyweight title against Logan Paul. It just sucked. Like, I got a bad feeling about this. Like, I just hope they just don't let Jey Uso just lose it to Logan Paul, and I think Logan Paul, maybe he can wait a little bit longer. But that's just my take, and you know what? Maybe he can go for like the Intercontinental Championship. Maybe Logan Paul can do that. Then, like maybe the Royal Rumble, like he actually will win it. Then go to WrestleMania and maybe challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, whoever it may be, if it's Jay or who knows. So I think that's just like a better situation for Logan Paul or if he win Money in the Bank. But yeah, there's a lot of proven people that's out there that probably can like actually win Money in the Bank. But excuse me, Solo Sikoa was out there, caused a distraction, and out of nowhere, Jeff Cobb. I think he either attacked. Oh yeah, he did attack LA Knight. Okay, I knew it was either LA Knight or Damian Priest. So yeah, ended up beating the crap out of Damian Priest, and I guess he joined up with Solo Sikoa with the new bloodline. So I guess they was mentioned that he was running out of an army. So now he got one. So with Jacob Fatu, although he was like surprised, that Jeff Cobb came out and ended up beating up LA Knight, but then again, it was no disqualification, so it was nothing that the referee couldn't do. Well, it was nothing that the referee could do. But yeah, decent, good match. Just would have been, I'm gonna say it would be interesting, but I'm glad, they had a shock value of the night will be, Jeff Cobb debuting in WWE. So that's a good shocker. So that's a plus for me. Women's Intercontinental Championship. I think it was a good match. Better than what everybody else is saying. They're saying, the match just kind of like it was okay, but they said it wasn't good enough. And I think they liked it more because Becky Lynch didn't get the Intercontinental Championship, so Lyra Valkyria ended up retaining. And I thought it was a good match. I thought it was. So, from, Becky Lynch tried to cheat and just out of nowhere, Lyra ended up getting the win. Oh, okay, you changed your name this time. Okay, hey, welcome back. Let's see, but yeah, I thought it was a good match, and then after the match, of course, Becky Lynch ended up attacking her again, and kind of like will injure her arm. Just put it that way. It could be a like part of the storyline, but who knows? How you doing, Gaten? How you doing with your subscribers so far? I just know I just got to look for you, but I probably do it during this broadcast. So just just hang on in there, and I will officially subscribe to you. And like for everybody else, please subscribe to the channel, and if you subscribe to me, and I will subscribe to you. So it's like we gotta help ourselves in the YouTube community. Also on Twitch too, so people will know. But anyways, let's talk about. Yeah, I will look for that during this broadcast. Intercontinental Championship match. In my opinion, this was the match of the night. Dominic Mysterio defending the Intercontinental title against Penta, and although Dominic Mysterio retained, but the interference with the Judgment Day, but you kind of expect that to happen. But yeah, let me see if I can say this right. El Grande Americano interfere, and everybody knows that's Chad Gable. Everybody knows. But I like it when some of the commentators were like, "That ain't Chad Gable." It is. So it's like you went to like Mexico and like got a mask. Well, we know it was a mask, but we just didn't know like oh, I'm out of water. But anyways, conclusion is that is Chad Gable. I don't care what anybody says. That was Chad Gable. Gave Penta a headbutt, then he went down, and I think, Dominic Mysterio ended up doing the frog splash. Penta 1, 2, 3. So, at least, Penta did get, a couple of title matches within, a month. So, that's great, because I know they probably don't want him to win it just yet, but, they have to do something for him to keep going. And Howard, hey, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Let's see the match. It wasn't the greatest. This next match wasn't the greatest match, but at least it was like okay. Because only thing I can say, like, what was wrong with this match, because Pat McAfee hasn't been in the ring for a long time, so he kind of like slipped on a couple of things. But Pat McAfee did make Gunter look good, with the selling the moves and stuff like that. So if y'all didn't know, Gunter did beat Pat McAfee with a submission. Pat didn't tap out; he passed out. So kind of like the same scenario, he did when you did to him a couple weeks ago. So back and forth, but they made like Gunter look like strong. And I was thinking, they both like had the same. They're like close to the same height, and you thinking like, man, y'all making Pat McAfee look weak. And, he's been wrestling for like, what is it like since 2017, 2018 or something like that. But I don't know. It's like I was saying earlier, the Rob Gronkowski supposed to be Pat McAfee, like the version of that, but Pat McAfee ended up, doing it better. I have a photo of my dog having. Oh, wow, that's got to be a lot. My oldest dog ended up, having like five kids from 5 baby dogs. We ended up keeping one of them, which still around, and don't know what the other 3, but we know about the one that ended up dying like months later. So yeah. Otherwise, couple botch moves by Pat McAfee, but then again, it's been a long time since he was in the ring. I think the last time he was in the ring, it was like a few years ago when he took on Austin Theory, and then had to take on Vince McMahon after the match, and that was a bad idea. And I know if y'all know about it, they did that match, on the spot with Pat McAfee and Vince McMahon. So it was just like, wait, seriously? But some odd reason Vince McMahon won that match, and just didn't make any sense. But anyway, good effort by both men. Like I said, it was an okay match, but it wasn't the greatest. Because, if it probably wasn't for the couple of botch moves by Pat McAfee, it probably would have been, as good as I was saying. I'm not on there yet, but I will. So, yeah. Gunter did give, Pat McAfee a nod, respecting him for what he's doing. So, I know Gunter did that with a few people. I know he did it with Cody Rhodes when they was fighting for the Crown Jewel champion. Do you have a kid? Not by blood, but my son Robert is currently at basic training. So yeah, he joined the Army National Guard. He wanted to do it all his life, but tried to join the official army. That didn't work out because his injuries, stuff like from the past. But was able to do like the National Guard. So took that one. They accept him, and he's there. Anyways, undisputed WWE Championship. John Cena did defeat Randy Orton. A little bit interference with R-Truth, and we knew that John Cena was going to cheat, but it was just waiting on like how he's going to do it, how he's going to cheat. So R-Truth did interfere and try to stop Randy Orton from doing the punt. Randy RKO R-Truth gave John Cena gave him a low blow, hit him with the belt, and I think did he pin him after that, or did he do the AA? I think he pinned him after that. But before that, it was like a couple of points that Randy Orton could have won that match, and guys, a guy said, accidentally, hitting the referee and stuff like that, and the crazy thing was that the officials came out there, including Nick Aldis, yeah. Okay, like I apologize if it's laughing. It's like with the location that we're at, if it's like lagging. So I apologize. If like after this live one, if you want to watch it again, you can watch it on the pre-recorded one that's gonna be out right after this, but it's probably gonna take like about like 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most to put that on there. So I apologize if it was lacking because the area that I'm at, the Wi-Fi just wasn't good. Like we had to move like to like certain rooms in this place that we're at because one place was good, but there was like a few issues that couldn't be dealt with. So we ended up just going to somewhere else, and the internet was better on the side we were before, but unfortunately it's not that great here. Like, it's barely going, but yeah, it's just really lagging, so it kind of sucks. But Randy Orton ended up RKO Nick Aldis and everybody else. So vengeance Randy Orton, because he was going to do something crazy. No, why not? Oh yeah, they got a picture of RKO like shaming RKO shame hymns, and you see Janie Noble in the back there, and you see Davari back there as well. So I'm glad those guys got the backstage roles because they really did deserve it. But that's just me. Yeah, and plus, Randy Orton was doing like John Cena's moves, so that was something. Just crazy. But yeah, well, if y'all didn't see the post show, which they actually didn't take as long to do the post show than they normally would, so that was a plus. So John Cena, came out there, and I guess he was whispering to Triple H, and he was like, "Okay, I guess he want to talk." So John Cena, everybody. John Cena came out. He did talk a little bit. Then was about to end up asking, the first question. Then R-Truth came out, and R-Truth was saying that, congratulations for retaining the title. I always believe in you, either though other people say you suck and can't wrestle. So he got up and looked at R-Truth and was just like, say one more thing and it will be consequences. He's like, but John, gave him the AA on the table and left. So, but then again, Cena was trying to say, I should be, better at doing this. We appreciate what y'all do. Like as interviewer, you getting us out there. But that was before, R-Truth came in. But yeah, now we got rumors out there that, John Cena will end up facing R-Truth for the WWE title at Saturday night's main event. So right now there's only one match that's been announced so far, and that was, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Logan Paul going against Jey Uso, who's defending the title. So that's all we know right now. There may be more matches coming out in probably this week. So, and there's a possibility. Do you do Discord? I don't know what you mean by that. So, please explain that to me because I don't know what you mean by that. But overall, like I said, the Intercontinental Championship match was the match of the night. And y'all know my complaints about, they need to have more matches and stop focusing on, quality over quantity. Because you can do both. Because I can't stand when, these companies be saying, we worry about quality over quantity. No. Especially for, us fans, like, we want to be, entertained with more matches. Like, because there are certain matches, that just draw so long, it's like, end it already. And, some people probably would end up getting, bored. I know as long as action in there, everybody won't get bored, but there's sometimes, a match end up going too long and you just get bored. So, the funny thing is, like, before I rate it and grade the pay-per-view, well, PLE, I can't stop saying pay-per-view because, like, that's what I'm used to. And now, this day and age, they turn it to a PLE. So, just weird. But anyways, oh God, I forgot what. Oh God. Okay. So let me try to go back on there. I apologize to you guys. Let me see. Let me try to do this. Okay, there we go. For you guys that just was watching on Twitch, I apologize about that. Like I said, the internet here is not working. Like I said, I don't understand what you're saying. What you mean by do you Discord? So, Caden Bass 48, you gotta explain it to me more. What you mean? See, I lost my train of thought, but I know I was gonna rate it and grade it, but I know I was gonna say something else, and I can't even remember. Oh yeah, it's probably like Saturday night's main event. So probably when that show's going on in a couple of weeks, they probably gonna announce the next location. So. Part of me hoping that it's here, but if not, but I think we're going to end up getting here in Milwaukee. We probably going to end up getting maybe 2 shows in 2 days just to make up for not having Money in the Bank, which was supposed to be here, but them punks in LA end up getting it. So yeah. Anyways, but maybe something will happen next year. So hopefully so. Especially test the market and see how Milwaukee we're doing, because they know like here for the past couple of years like. Every SmackDown show they had here was sold out. So, sorry, but, WWE need to calculate on some of that stuff. They really do. But anyways, let's do the grading and rating. Due to lack of matches and what was happening in the other match with Gunter and Pat McAfee, I'm going to grade it first. So, I'm going to give it a B-. I'm going to give it a B-. Like, there's times, some PLEs I don't, like, mainly with WWE, they never go higher than the A-. But right now, for me, it's a B-. So, B-, a few things going, and I know people, sick or tired, the John Cena heel turn, like, which seems like it's not working. Do you Discord? I still don't know what you mean. You gotta explain it. I don't know what you mean. Are you saying, like recording, or I don't know what you're saying. But anyways, like I said, graded B-, and for like the rating of it from 1 to 10, I'm gonna have to give it a 7. Yeah. I know I could have graded like any other way, but no, not with the matches and some of the messed up. But yeah, I'm just gonna be a little bit fair. Give it a 7 out of 10. So normally, WWE's PLEs, if it was good, they go to the 8 and 9, but not that much of a 10. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Rated 7 out of 10, and also give it a B-. So enough about that. If y'all want to comment below, if y'all watching it live on either YouTube or Twitch, comment below like what y'all think about yesterday's PLE. So, we're going to move on from that. And they did also announce before we go on that Night of Champions will be in Saudi Arabia. So that'll be the only show in Saudi Arabia this year due to them getting the Royal Rumble for 2026. So most likely, they got the Rumble. Then they're going to have like 2 more events in 2026. So they're going to have a total of 3 events. So, yeah, it's just kind of weird. But, anywho, yeah, let me click on to this. Oh, wow, it's not like, okay, so computer is kind of frozen. Just interesting, just great. I still don't know what you mean. I really don't. You got to explain it. Don't just say, do you do Discord? You got to explain to me, like, what you mean. You wrong. Anyways, Sabu did pass away today. 60 years old. And I know he probably was dealing with a lot, especially like his I forgot what his girlfriend name was because Melissa Coates. That's who it was. Had her leg amputated, and I think it was like a year or 2 later she died. So he had it rough. And like a month ago he had this final match. Period. Like just his final match. Period. And he passed away. Saw some of his matches in the ECW. When you watch it on WWE. Because they had the WWE Network. So a few of the matches I did see. Also with some of the stuff he did in WWE. And at one point they had ECW like at full time every Tuesday. But you say hi. I guess you can say hi again. So you know what? Cool. But yeah, this who was expecting him to die? So they didn't say. I think do they explain what was the cause of it? Because they never did. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, his death is unknown. So yeah. So nephew of Detroit wrestling legend and hardcore innovator The Sheik. So yeah. Started in the business in 1985. So yeah, probably around that time, he was trying to find his place until after a brief stint in WWE as well as matches in Japan, Sabu joined the Renegade ECW in the mid 90s, and yeah, he was a hit ever since. So with him, Rob Van Dam, his feuds with Rob Van Dam. So yeah. Okay, he got a few quick matches in WCW before he returned back to ECW for the rest of the company's time when it existed. And y'all probably seen, I think it could be 97 maybe. They had a little bit of stint in WWE just showing, the talent of ECW. So that was like ECW, promoting, WWE like promoting ECW. So I think at that time, as they were saying, that Vince McMahon was, the backer for ECW. So then after stuff was going on, behind the scenes and others back there. Oh, sorry. Let's see if I can. Okay, it's connecting. So like all the backstage stuff was going on. So once again, guys that's watching the live on Twitch, I apologize. I know the internet is just so weird here. Probably sometime I'm just going to talk about them in the morning. Anyways, wasn't doing TNA wrestling. Then like I said, yeah, ECW was as a third brand in 06. But Vince McMahon did not know what to do with ECW and how it made it successful. So it's just like kind of weird. Let's see. Yeah, Sabu and then facing John Cena when he was champion at that time at Vengeance. Yeah, it was brief because Vince McMahon didn't know what to do with these guys. So, and suddenly they end up putting Sandman on Raw. So it was just a lot of stuff that was going on. It's just like, what? So, typical Vince McMahon. But anyways, hey Kane Bass, you okay? Or my feed is just still going on and off. So if it is, I apologize. But anyways, rest in peace to Sabu, one of the toughest men out there and a hardcore legend himself. So rest in peace to him. But anyways, it wasn't that much wrestling news to talk about. But before we go on, this morning I ended up watching Ring of Honor because they had it on YouTube for once. But I think it's like a special one-time thing only. And compared to how AEW is run with ROH, like I know I was seeing some ROH shows at the arena, but they just place it all like in different times. Like they do like some matches before AEW Dynamite or Collision. Then after that, they just after Collision or Dynamite. Well, then again, for us, like this past March, it was no, they after Collision they did like Ring of Honor. They had a whole bunch of tag team matches, which was not it didn't see right. But I didn't see the official all the editing and stuff. I didn't see that episode like fully edited. But the matches they showed on Friday and stuff, and like the show they showed was shockingly better than what AEW is doing right now. So he's doing right with Ring of Honor, but it's not like AEW like was like all chaos and stuff like that. So it's just mainly straight up matches, maybe like a 30-second to 1 minute promo and move on to the next match. So I can understand people like that old vibe, and companies like AEW and WWE ain't doing like that anymore, although it sucks. So I apologize for lagging. Like I said, try to do this as quick as I can, and but yeah. So Ring of Honor that was shown on Friday that I saw today was way better than was AEW going on, and they only showed like an hour. So ROH is doing something right, but you still gotta pay to see like all episodes like every single week. It's like just do your full episodes on YouTube and you will get more viewers. So they seem like they ain't believing in that, so kind of BS. But anyways, let's get to Bucks news. So like I said, like before I was setting up and all this stuff, like this popped up. Milwaukee Bucks predicted to pick a big man as an Asian Andrew Bogut for the 47 pick. So if y'all don't know who Andrew Bogut is, he was the first pick of the draft in 2005 by the Bucks. He was a good player, but until that serious injury that he had that ended up breaking his arm, and I think some people were saying like after he got back, he wasn't the same since. But I thought he was still doing good, but he needed more like I said, not growing up, but like trying to get like more stronger, for like because of how these other centers were at that time. Because it wasn't that many centers, like shooting threes and stuff like that. So Andrew Bogut was like a traditional center. Good defense, grab rebounds, and can score like in the paint. So and especially if they're going to let go of Brook Lopez, yeah, I am up for that. So we already know the Milwaukee Bucks are limited when it comes to steps on how to make the team better. This is why their 2025 draft pick will be a major decision, even if they will pick only the 47 pick in the second round. So, and plus everybody that if y'all NBA team is in the lottery, the draft is not the draft, but the draft lottery is tomorrow. I think it's either 5 or 6, but I think it's 5 because I think they're gonna show. I think it's the Boston and the Knicks, New York Knicks game that they're gonna show after that. So I think it's 5 o'clock Central tomorrow for that draft lottery. I will be watching. I know like the Bucks ain't got like a first round draft pick or anything like that, but there are shockingly things that Bucks can make some crazy moves like either try to get in like the late first round or get like picks in the early second round. So yeah, they're good for that. Although some of their second round picks, and in people's opinion, that it wasn't good. Well, like I said, there are some second round picks that that the thing is they ain't getting used enough. So there's gonna be players that's gonna lose their momentum when they start playing. Then suddenly, oh, you're not playing today's game. Like what? Like with Tyler Smith. Although people are saying he should have been gotten in the first round, and they ended up getting AJ Johnson. And you see, they had to trade him just to make the Chris Middleton trade work. So, you're still not making sense with that comment. Do you do Discord? I don't know what that means. You know what? Since we got a little time, what is... Yeah, because I don't get it. Oh, Discord is a free communications app that primarily serves as a platform for gamers to connect and interact with each other. It offers voice, video, and text chat features. Allows users to hang out, collaborate, and play games together. So, if that's what you mean, that's what we're kind of doing now. But I do like people like collaborate and stuff. Like I don't mind collaborating with people. I really don't. Like, okay, if you talk about, do some collaborations together, I don't mind about that. Like, as long as the topics that I'm talking about, or it's going to be something that you want to talk about. So, like I said, I don't mind collaborating with people. Or, where they got that feature, like the split screen that, you can see people on there, like, talking live. So, okay, so I know what Discord means, so... Oh, it's a free app. Okay. So, never mind. So, I got that wrong. So, it's a free app. Okay. So, no, I do not have that app. And, I will check it out, when I have time. But, I thought it was, like a just different word or something. So, it's an app. So, I get what you're saying. But, maybe one day, I'll try it out and see how it works and, go from there. But yeah, since now I know about that, let's get more back to the Bucks thing. So well, we already know, the only pick that the Bucks got is the 47 pick. They managed to get that during the Chris Middleton, Kyle Kuzma trade, and it ended up being like a 3-team trade. I forgot whose pick that was. That I think it was a Washington trade that picked to the Bucks, or San Antonio Spurs trade that pick, because San Antonio Spurs ended up getting Patrick Baldwin Jr. after Wizards gave him to us. So they ended up just trading it to the Spurs. I don't know. They gave the was it for? I think it was just for that pick. So could have been the Spurs. Lots of names are getting attached to that 47 pick, including Wisconsin Badgers hero John Tonnerre. I know he's a shooting guard, but yeah, I know he's like a good shooter and decent defender and stuff like that. But with Brook Lopez like a free agent and probably gonna want more money, but for his age, I hope the Bucks don't do it. But then again, John Horst, I admit that he done some crazy moves before, but just I hope re-signing Brook Lopez is not that one. So maybe they be smart, getting whoever they want the 47 pick. So a dub as an Asian Andrew Bogut. That's what they calling this guy. So I'm gonna try to get his name right if I see it on here. Okay, that's a simple name. Hanson Yang. That's what the Bleacher Report's Jonathan Wasserman said that it'd be a good pickup for the Bucks. I know the guy is right now. He's 20 years old. Let's see, average 21 points a game, 11.3 rebounds in the CBA since March 19th. So, yeah, I guess he is putting himself in the conversation, especially with next in line offers, especially bring a number of draftable prospects back to college. If he's doing that good, like I can understand, they probably get him for rebounds and score and stuff like that. Though slower moving and lacking explosion, he developed a high skill level and feet. Okay, and just say footwork. And feel with his footwork. Just say he got good footwork. They could have just said that. And so you touch shots from the post. Okay, not surprising. He's 7'1", so 17 made threes even make him more intriguing for a 7'1", 19-year-old. Average almost 3 blocks a game. So, well, you actually got I wouldn't say an Asian Andrew Bogut. I say a better version of Brook Lopez. Way better. Well, we'll see that. But we know he probably gonna have some slumps and stuff like that. And what more can you do? Seemed like that's his average. I don't know if this was the one when he played in China last summer for the team. So of course his birthday is next month. 7'1". I think this is probably what he scored in during that China game last year. When with the Olympics. Almost 9 points a game, 5 rebounds, and about 2 assists. So he could develop into a good passer. So Bucks had a history of picking big men, but they are hit and miss, which somewhat. They did use their first overall pick in 2005. Yep, selecting Andrew Bogut, who was a great role player at best, but was traded to Golden State Warriors in 2012, where he did end up winning an NBA title with Golden State. And I think he played the year after. I think after he played that when they won that title in let's see, 16. I think it was 2015, and I think after that he was a free agent, and no team didn't want to sign him after they saw him play in Australia, and they just didn't they didn't touch him ever since. Of course they paid Lee Giuliani in 2007 for the 6th overall pick, but I guess they're saying he failed to live up to the hype. But the thing was, Giuliani didn't want to go to Milwaukee because at the time they claimed that Milwaukee was like Chinese people and stuff like that, like Asian people in the population. So I don't know, but then again, I wasn't paying attention to that at the time. I'm just like, what, whatever. You get picked, you have to play. So I know he wasn't living that much to the hype, but he was okay. But he wanted to leave, and got traded. I forgot, was it Nets, I believe. I think it was the New Jersey. Well, at the time it was New Jersey Nets. Then ended up going to the Dallas Mavericks, and and it was nothing good from there. Of course, the first round pick in 2012, they picked John Henson. Also was a role player, but he was getting better at what he was doing. He was actually, the final season with the Bucks before, they got rid of him. He was actually was hitting threes. So, and plus at the time, you got big men that shooting threes Dirk Nowitzki, but he was a power forward. But that was the time, big man was starting to shoot threes. But, they ended up, really, I think they didn't even trade him or just let him go. But that just sucks. But because you did see a lot of potential with John Henson, but they just traded him. And of course, we know the situation with Thon Maker. They didn't like play him enough, and since he got traded and stuff like that, yeah, it was not working out for him. And I know he's playing overseas right now, so I don't know like his numbers or anything like that right now. So who knows? Of course, then the 10th overall pick for DJ Wilson. Oh, that same year. Oh no, I'm sorry, 2017. They picked DJ Wilson. Another player that needed like time to pick up, and I guess Bucks didn't have the patience for it. Bucks pick is in the second round, and there's someone Bucks fans can hope to see in him. That is, well, we already know about Malcolm Brogdon. They picked him in the 36th pick in 2017, and he ended up winning Rookie of the Year. But you already know the situation, so like after Eric Bledsoe couldn't like score in the playoffs, so they was thinking, either Malcolm Brogdon or Eric Bledsoe was going to go. And I do admit this, that it was a bad mistake letting Malcolm Brogdon go. But at the same time, although Malcolm Brogdon was playing at his hardest, he was not happy with with some of the people in the city, because sadly, yeah, Milwaukee is like the most segregated city in the United States, and it is sad and true at the same time, because it's like we still got like racism up here, and there's like also like people that had companies try to hire for jobs, they with the no, we're not going to hire you because you're black or you didn't finish high school and stuff like that. So maybe they was like didn't like hire them. They don't hire that much like with people of color with some of these places that's around here. And I don't know what the mayor is going to do about that, but yeah, they just need to do something, because I don't think that's right. But then again, you got this DEI that's been now gone. It's going to be more harder for people to get jobs. And watch, like, unemployment is going to be going up the roof. Just sucks. I know, the governor is trying his best too for that. And then again, we got different legislators that is not doing us any favors, but somehow, some odd reason, they still in office. Unbelievable. But since I'm not in a good mood for just talking about that, so let's talk about something else. It is Bucks related, and I haven't talked about this guy in weeks, but there's a couple of videos that he did that I'm gonna play for y'all. Just hope I don't get that much in trouble with Facebook. Like, I did watch like part of this video with the the run is done. The Bucks are cooked. I saw a little bit in that, and you know what? No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. And it's sad that he got like over 2,000 subscribers that almost liking everything that he does, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I know I'm probably gonna get him more views, but oh wow, that's a 30-minute video. We ain't got time for that. So we probably gonna end up skipping some parts and just see what he graded with like all the players. So we're gonna skip some parts. So and you guys that's out there watching live, you'll be able to see this too. We're just gonna skip some parts and just get to who he actually what was the grade was.
Alright, and so now we're really into the off-season era of Bucks content, and I want to start off with grading everybody on this season for the Bucks. All the players, Johnny Horst, and Dr. Rivers. And after this, we
rating the coaches and GM too.
Full videos on each individual player, maybe not every player, but we can do like a full video breakdown on Giannis' season. But I want to do everybody right here and just give a quick summary of their seasons before doing any like deep dives on anything in particular. And so I'm going to give a grade for everybody. We'll start off with Giannis, and I'm going to give him an A-. Only reason it's a minus is because I do feel like his defense has dropped off I would say drastically, maybe not since last year, but like over the last 5 years, I would say it's dropped off drastically. And honestly, I think it did take a pretty big.
His offense took like a big leap, and you giving him an A minus? I can understand you gave him an A, or probably not A plus, but I can understand you giving him an A, but
Drop off from last year to this
okay,
year.
let's skip
And
this.
he ended up getting hurt. Should be able to over to.
Yeah, we know he got hurt, but
Nuggets, I was like,
whatever.
Go over to Damian Lillard. Oops, that is not Damian Lillard. Let's go
Let's
down
see.
to the right player. We're going to Dame here. And Dame is an interesting one. Dame is a guy that's put up kind of a bounce back season numbers-wise. I mean, on the year,
Mainly the same
Damian
numbers as he
Lillard,
did last
he was
season.
dropping, what was it, 25 and 7 a game, 45 from the field, 38 from 3, 92 from the line. He was basically everything that you would want from a guy statistically.
Yeah.
But there's two buts to it. One, until that Pacers series in that one game where he came back, most of the year his defense wasn't good, especially when in the offseason he came in with a couple.
His defense was a little bit better. Like I said, last season he was voted by everybody in all the social media was saying like he was the top 10 guards that was good on defense. The numbers didn't show it, but you got to see him actually play, and I think that's what half of the people are missing, and including this guy. Oh man.
Couple different quotes talking about how he actually plays good defense. He's trying to show people that. I think he said it last year too, and he did show it that one game in the playoffs. He 1,000% did. But watching him game to game did not show that at all. And then the other thing with Damian Lillard is just the chemistry with Giannis in terms of making life easier on Giannis. He never got to the ability to do that to the level.
And I think he probably means by when you say that it's probably about scoring, because of course Damian Lillard's getting older, and he just have he's at that level. He's gonna have an on and off switch. Like one game he'll be on, then the next game he'll probably score like 12 points. So but if you ain't good at one thing, try something else. Like passing the ball. Like he does do like pass the ball. I do admit that, but I think he just need to do more than what he's letting on. So.
Well, Chris Middleton in terms of the amount of easy looks Giannis got, where there was a little stretch before Dame went out where Giannis was starting to like really drop off after the Chris Middleton trade, and I think a lot of that was just not getting those easy looks. And even Kevin Porter Jr. by the end of the season developed a chemistry with Giannis that I think is above the level that Dame got to.
Yeah, and Kevin Porter Jr. No, we'll talk about him when we get to that point.
And then you also have to just give him a little bit of a bump for being hurt. I mean, yeah, that might be controversial because, like I always say, Dame has a loud stand base, but it's like it wouldn't be controversial if I bumped Chris Middleton down for being hurt. Why would it be controversial that Dame, would get bumped
It's
a little
not.
bit for
We
not
understand.
being able to finish the season? I put most of the blame on that on somebody else, and we will address that later. But
Already know who.
Back to how the season went, it's not even about blame or not giving blame. It's just about how good was the season. And when you
he says C, but
consider
what?
that he wasn't able to finish the season in the regular season or in the playoffs. Obviously, it's a terrible torn Achilles, all that. But just in terms of how the season went, in terms of the offensive production while he was healthy in the regular season, I would say it was A. In terms of chemistry with Giannis, I didn't see a lot of improvement there. And in terms of defense, didn't see a lot of greatness from him other than that one playoff game. And then injuries bumps him down a little bit too. So you go those negatives with the positives. I would give him a C+ on the season.
Okay. Fair enough. I understand that, give him a C+. That's fair.
I would say a C expectations, right? And so Taurean Prince is a guy that, in today's modern NBA, I feel like, maybe it's just because I'm watching the best teams in the NBA right now, it just feels like there's more good role players than ever. Like, watch the Thunder's bench. Watch, like, Aaron Gordon with the Nuggets. Watch, like, the Warriors, amount of guys that get Pat Spencer out of nowhere, give them value, to where I do feel like I could be a little
make
bit
the
harder on
screen
role
bigger
players right now, because it seems like all these good teams just have role players on role players that can come in and do things. And so for Taurean Prince, part of me wants to give him a really strong grade because he's on the minimum deal. Shouldn't have had too much expected from him. And he did have the best catch and three-point percentage in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a great defender, but at least provided length. And,
Yeah, he was
he had
okay
moments where he
defender.
stuck
I
up
admit
for
that.
Giannis, pushed Franz Wagner. But at the same time, like I said, you're getting positive contributions for role players across the league that aren't really getting paid much of anything. Ty Jerome with the Cavs, another example, where he just shot 1 of 14. And so I say all that to say, with Torian Prince, I've got to give this man overall a C minus. Where Dame's at a C plus, I'll give him a C minus. I think his defense overall pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very
That's
good
fair.
three-point shooter.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Because, like, beginning of the season, Torian Prince was good. Although, the whole season he was still good and, like, one of the top 5 3-point percentage shooters out there. But playoffs, like, what happened? Because I'm actually glad, I know, Doc was trying something new with the lineup towards the end of the season. Then, had them start game 1, but I think they didn't switch them to game 3. They's like on the starting from the bench. And yeah, it was good. They had started Gary Trent Jr. But at the same time not Torian Prince, but Gary Trent Jr. was a little bit better about he was a better defender than Torian Prince. Like, Torian Prince was okay in defense, but he wasn't like top notch. So if Bucks may not resign him, I don't think they will. Probably if Doc got his way, he probably would, but I don't think they should. Just let him go, and probably he'll do better with the different team. Probably because they're shooting around Giannis and everybody expect be a shooter. So for some players it just doesn't work, and some players it does work. So let me
But really gave the Bucks nothing other than that. And
oh God, here we go.
Your father knows about saving money.
And of
Everything
course,
I'm wearing, I've had
commercial.
And I just say,
here in the National
No.
Basketball Association. I meant it when I. Does there need to be any conversation? I said part of this, I'm grading it on a curve, right? So, like, it's based off of partially what I expect, what we should expect from him. And I expected when he got traded to the Bucks that he was the very worst player in the NBA.
He wasn't the worst.
He's not one of the worst. He's
What was
not
that? Hold on.
He is the
Out of the 200 and I think it was like 250 players in the NBA, he was like the low, but he wasn't like the worst player in the NBA. He did, show some signs that, he had some good games but he's, in my opinion, I think he's like the fastest guy that they got on the Bucks, but just can't control his speed at times. So, he does like careless layups, just like out of nowhere, then, just launch it, let him go. So, I can understand some people being upset with that, but they don't look at, some of the good games he had as well. I admit he did not do well in the postseason except for that one game. Ooh, excuse me. And, it was that, I think he was on the bench when he had that decent game, I believe. Because I know, they were starting, like, putting him, like, on the bench. And then, that game 5 with that awesome starting lineup that they did, almost won them the game. And it could have been, a game 6, but the costly turnover by Gary Trent Jr. and, that kind of just ended it. Yeah. I think I already know what his grade is going to be, so it's going to be obvious. But I'm going to do my own grading as well, so let's just go with it.
The absolute worst player in the National Basketball Association. I meant it when I said it, and I still mean it today. And based off that expectation, I'm giving him an F.
Of course he is going to give him an F. Of course he is, because you don't like the man, and it's obvious. Like saying, like, he's the worst player in the NBA, which he's not. He's at the low bottom of the worst player in the NBA, but he's not the worst player. I don't know who he is, but that's probably something I gotta look up. The worst player in the NBA this season, and it's like he's down there, but it's not him. And like I said, he was showing some flashes on some good games that he can play well if he actually, mentally focused. Because I think, like he got all the right moves and stuff, but I think it's just affecting him mentally. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, you didn't see the flashes in the beginning when he was with LA. I think, being with the Wizards for like the long time and like trying to be that number one guy, maybe, pressure probably got into him. So I think next season, Kyle Kuzma is going to adjust, and I hope, he works out in the offseason, work on this game, and maybe, work on this game with Giannis, because he's almost like the Giannis type player, but the thing for him is, sometimes he can hit threes. And Giannis, of course, look a little bit of a better defender than Kyle Kuzma is. So yeah, there were some games, he had like 2-3 blocks and like, whoa. So Barry always look at the negative of Kyle Kuzma, but I can understand you can look at the negatives too, but you got to look at both sides, negative and positive. Only thing he did was just talk about negative because you don't like that man, and because he got traded for Chris Middleton, and of course he's a midi-sexual, and get off his tip, really. Chris Middleton was getting too old, and like his injuries, for a long time, like Chris Middleton's injuries, like it kind of shows that he got to go. So I guess they took the only deal that they could with getting Kyle Kuzma and also getting a second round pick out of it. But I think I think they had like a 2027 swap for with Portland, but they traded that away to the Wizards. So so their 2027 pick is going to go to Wizards, and I think they don't have any 2027 picks. Or do they? Or is like I don't know. They only got like one second round pick out of everything, but the rest of it was not, first round pick swaps, or another team owns their first round picks. So of course they ain't gonna have their own picks until 2031, which, maybe, towards that time, Giannis may, get older if they still keep him, and maybe, around that time, 2031, or maybe a little bit farther than that, Giannis may retire. So, I kind of knew what his grade was. He was going to give him an F, so it'd be funny, he gave him an F minus. That would be like the lowest of the low. But to be fair, I'm going to give Kyle Kuzma a D minus. D minus. Not an F, a D minus. Because like I said, you've seen some flashes of him where he can be. Then, most of the games, not that good. But you know what?
Even the very worst player in the entire National Basketball Association, I would not expect to be as bad as Kyle Kuzma was for the Bucks.
But
I don't think I'm the most negative Kyle Kuzma guy from off rip.
yes,
and I did
you
not
are.
expect that he would be this bad. In the playoffs, in 21 minutes a game, gave you 5.8 points, 2.2 rebounds, 0.8 assists on 34% from the field, 20% from three, had a player efficiency rating. Oh, for him. It's just a disaster, and we can get a little bit deeper into that when we talk about another person later on.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting with Brook Lopez and what he's going to grade him. So it's going to be interesting. So
next one is Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain getting a nice $20 million contract. Season where he played the most minutes he's ever played for the Bucks. Second most minutes of his career. Yeah.
here's the thing about Brook Lopez. The funny thing is that the guy can defend this was early on in his career. He can defend, block shots and stuff. Like he was still like the top 5 in block shots in the season. But at the same time, you letting everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, just pass you by, and you can't even recover from that. And it's like they still trying to do the old system that Coach Buzz did, and Doc ain't like doing plans on his own. But the defense, of course, they was making different like defenses and stuff. So yeah, Doc was a good defensive player, but it's like offense, they still using like Coach Buzz system, and some players got it and some players don't. Like with same thing with Brook Lopez. He has an on-off switch, and especially he's not a good rebounder, which he was in the beginning of his career. Then suddenly he starts shooting threes, and I know what he tried to do is he tried to post other players so the other player can get the rebound, or he just tap it to another player, which is a bad idea. I guess I'm like old school. Like when you go for a rebound, if you tap it up, you're going to try to grab it. I don't mind that. And also, if you can grab the rebound and, protect the ball. Then pass it to who's going to take it on the floor. So, yeah, just me, I'm an old-fashioned guy when it comes to, like, getting rebounds. So, then again, playing, like, some leagues in high school, yeah, I was a good defender and I was a good rebounder. The only issue was with me is, like, my offense was okay. Like, some mid-range shots I can do, taking in and stuff like that, I can do that. But I was never a good three-point shooter. And I think that was my only weakness, that I could not shoot threes. So, yeah, that was my weakness on that. So, then you got a guy that can do it all, but then again, when you get older, it just shows that, something's wrong, that he needed to go. But then suddenly, okay, he's like in the top 5 in blocks for the past few years. And plus, 2 years in a row, he was runner up for Defensive Player of the Year. Not this year. I know he was last year, but he didn't win it. Of course, the year before he didn't win it, and I think the year before that he didn't win it, but he was in the conversation. This year, he was not in the top 3 and probably was not in the conversation. And I don't think he'll be all NBA team, defensive team. So I don't think he's going to be in that list. I think he never was in the all NBA defensive team. I think he never was. But it was kind of like a make or break season for Brook Lopez. Although he averaged, decent numbers, but once again, he was on the off switch. Like, he's on, then he's off. He's on, then he's off. Because like the same thing, like I was saying about Kyle Kuzma, and also what I was saying about Taurean Prince. One game he's on, the next game he's off. So, you got to get like a player that can also, turn it up. Because we know there's going to be times they're going to have bad games, but a player like Brook Lopez should not be having no bad games, period. Especially not no bad rebounding, too. I think he averaged this season was like 4 rebounds a game. No. That's not what a center is supposed to do.
You have some good games.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I wrote down in my notes, when I say it out loud, I'm bumping it down further. I'm giving him a D+. I was thinking maybe a C- because, again, similar to what I said about Taurean Prince. Should he have been in that role? I can't blame him for the coach playing him too much, but he's on that contract.
He gave him a D+. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give him like a higher grade than that, but I will give him a D. Just a straight up D. Like I say, he got on the all switch and it just wasn't, good enough. And it kind of proves, it's just like the last year playoffs, he turned it up. During the season at times, towards the end of the season, he turned it up, but it looked like it was gone during the playoffs. Everybody flowing by him, can pass him up. Never takes it in the paint like he should be, and like just shooting threes all constantly. Because I know, like I said, they try to put shooters around Giannis, but there's most of the times Brook Lopez should not be shooting. Maybe he'd take 3 attempts, 3 points a game, then most of the time take it into the paint. You should do that, and that'd be it. If you end up being 0 for 3, stop shooting. 1 for 3, stop shooting. 2 for 3, maybe you keep going. But yeah. Like I said, I agree with the D at a certain point, but I think it's just not a D plus, just a straight up D. But that's just me.
There were expectations for him, and he was just a guy that basically you couldn't even have on the floor at all in the playoffs. Was not pretty to have Brook Lopez on the Bucks on the contract that he was, but of course, because we have our GM, he was never in any trade rumors this season. Next one is Big Bob, and Big Bob had a couple of bad stretch season. The first 10 games of the season, he was awful. He was just playing no defense, embarrassment, no effort, throwing up horrible shots, not hitting anything.
Right.
And then he started to play well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got suspended, and I guess that wasn't really his fault. But the
Right.
suspension did happen, whether it's not about blaming him or not. And then he came back in the playoffs and had the best playoff game of his career.
Oh, yeah.
And then did more fake tough guy stuff and continued to kind of stink it up for the rest of the series.
He was good all through that series. I don't know what he's talking about, but I guess the bad guy attitude. But it's just like how they won the 2021 championship. Like they had a couple of dogs in them, and the guy made their teammates more motivated. So it just sucks that he probably was the only one that's the toughest out there. Will lit somebody's butt on fire for them trying to play better. So I will say another veteran they should get, but besides PJ Tucker, which I know they're not going to go after him because he's going to stay with the Knicks for next season as well. But they need somebody that's that will fight for the players and light a fire up on teammates' butt and try to get them motivated to do good. So it just sucks, he's the only one that's out there doing that. And I guess some of the games when he was suspended, you could see that. Because and they did that big run at the end of the season, having a 7-game winning streak was their season high for this season. And 4 of those games he was back for, and demeanor did change. And I think, in my opinion, this was Bobby Porter's best season. Although he didn't play that many games, but I think it was his best season so far. And of course, I'm being nice to him because I did meet him last month. Promote his underdog. I do got the underdog hat. I think there were some of the times during these videos I was wearing them. And I ended up actually getting Bobby Porter's t-shirt that had, his number, and that was the City Edition one from last season. So you know what? Money well spent, and I can be times I go to Bucks games, I can wear that shirt and whatever. And still have fun with it. But I think, I'm sorry, but although he was suspended for a lot of the second half of the season, but I think I'm sorry, but I think it's his best season he had so far.
Overall, I'll give him a C.
C?
There was ups and there was downs, and that's what you expect.
It was ups and it was downs, yeah, but no, not a C. No. And plus for all his efforts in the playoffs, no, not a C. I would have gave him a straight up just B. B. Yeah, I'll give him a B. Or, with the up and downs and stuff like that, but ended up being a better defender through the playoffs in this second half of the season when he returned. And of course, the beginning, of course, it was rough. They had a 2-8 start, so of course it was rough. But if you hold the beginning of the season against him and you're gonna grade him a C, are you serious? I'm sorry, but I grade Bobby Porter as a B. So B for somebody that has the balls to actually do something and light the fire up in the team. Yeah. Anyways, move on.
Back from Bobby Portis. He is who he is at this point.
Oh,
Is this
okay.
the best survival
It seemed like he was gonna go for Kevin Porter Jr. So let's see what he says about him.
And that's a Kevin Porter Jr. Just a very interesting player, and I would say he's like the new and improved Bobby Portis. A guy that, blood, do you want to count on him as like a core of your team? Definitely not. You're not going anywhere if you really have to.
Bull crap. He was one of the best acquisitions that the Bucks got in the second half of the season. Are you serious?
Rely on him. But if he's something that you could sprinkle in as like a little side dish, as like a little booster shot when things are down, I think that's great. And so I think he was great in that role, and he had like one playoff game that was really good, and overall, he had some bad moments in the playoffs, but it balanced out to be a guy that's did what he was expected, a guy that you could.
Okay, he finally just got back in playing this season. Got Clippers signed him. One plus player option, which he does have a player option in the offseason. And I would say he should take it to improve his game and show people that he's a very good player. That's what I think that he should do. Let's have his player option and play. And there's a possibility since Dame will be out, he probably will be that starting point guard. But I know he could be a combo guard, but his dribbling is decent, but did have a few turnovers, and I know that's the thing that the Bucks need to work on too, is turnovers. For the last few years, they was awful in turnovers. It's just ridiculous. So they probably was the bottom 5 in turnovers, probably. I think they was, but they just got to be better with the ball. Hire somebody that can be a better ball handler and teach them that.
Sprinkle on something. And, for getting him from Marjan Beauchamp, I would say that's a big success.
Yes.
He shot 47% from 3 in the playoffs. Shot below 40% from the field. So it's, kind of a weird playoffs for him, but...
Yeah, because that was his first time being in the playoffs. He was with Houston for the first few seasons. No, he was with Cleveland, then got traded to Houston. I think it was half of his rookie season, I believe. Then was playing with them ever since. And for what he did, with his ex and stuff like that, although he got the case got dismissed. But going out in the overseas last season was good for him, and can make him be a better player. Because sometimes playing overseas and you're probably was getting good and being back in the NBA and end up being one of the best success stories for the Bucks this season. He wasn't getting that much playing time with the Clippers, but he was getting more playing time here with the Bucks. So I hope he does pick up his player option. Try to prove to the world that you're a very good player, and maybe Bucks will work something off on the next off season. Give him a decent contract or something like that. 5-10 million season. Start from there, or 15 million. It all depends. It all depends on how he does. This upcoming season.
But, he had over 5 assists a game, 11, over 5 assists, almost 4 rebounds. So, as much as, he had some wild moments in the playoffs, he wasn't overall a complete disaster. And, he's just a little bit of a wild card that I think is great to have off the bench as, a 7th man. The worry is with Dame's torn Achilles that he'll be in a bigger role than that, which I'm not happy about the idea of. But overall, I would say, he's a guy that has his bad moments where he can get a little wound up, overplay defensively, where he can throw up some wild shots.
Yeah. Yeah, that you keep forgetting. He was a good defender too.
Where he throws some bad turnovers, but overall, I would give him a strong B+ based off what they got him for.
I'm pretty shocked about this, because by the way he was talking, he was going to end up giving him a C or a C-. Just the way he was talking. So I would have had a better rating for him because he did an all season, but he was good, trade deadline pickup. And he proved it. When Doc Rivers started up and play, and just been proving himself every time. So I'm pretty shocked by him giving him I'm just shocked that Barrett gave him a B plus. So expecting from Barrett, he probably would have. I thought he would have graded him lower, but I'm gonna outdo Barrett on this one, and I'm gonna give him an A minus. Because there were some games he was like off, but like most of the games he's been on. But yeah, I'm giving Kevin Porter Jr. A minus.
For the fact that he was on in a good organization, because a lot of people were like, oh, Achilles. But overall, I think that there was a lot of good stuff from him. And
Oh God, he's gonna talk bad about him too.
Andre Jackson. I mean, y'all know I've never been a believer. I've been kind of honestly a hater of Andre Jackson. Don't believe in players that are talentless on offense in today's NBA. To mix that with
Dude, not every player is gonna be good on offense in the beginning of their season. There are some players that are gonna have it, and there are some players it's gonna take time. Jason Kidd didn't have a 3-point shot until he was 30. Then just hitting threes like nothing out off of that. So you can't just say, okay, the player, because this was Andre Jackson Jr.'s second season, and you expect him to have the offense just like that. I'm sorry, but I really like his game, and it's just a shame that Doc Rivers didn't play him enough, because I know there was times that Barrett was complaining that he should not have been in the starting. And I thought they had better defense for that. But the result, they was overall, at least they was the top 15 in defense. They were at one point they was at 10, then like the end of the season they dropped down from 10 to 12. Kind of same thing with offense. Top 15 in offense. But the offense, they gotta be doing a little bit better. Like I said, had the shooting coach work with Andre Jackson Jr. and work with the other players this offseason. And like I said, I don't know what's going on with Giannis and is missing free throws. I still don't know what's going on. I think he just thinking too much when he shoots, and he shoots like an awkward way when he does. And there's times, Giannis is good. He only missed like 2 free throws, or one time he only missed 1. In another game, he hit all of them. Then you got these games, like 4 for 11 or 6 for 12 from the free throw. But anyways, I have no problem with Andre Jackson Jr.'s game. It's good to have defense and a good passer. And if you pay attention to his college numbers, he was a good offensive playmaker. But I know sometimes he does costly turnovers, but it's not as bad as he thinks. That's what it is. He just don't like the players that do good on one thing and not good the other, and it's going to take him time. Just don't realize it.
But defensively, not being as good as a lot of people think he was.
He is.
Basically, when he was starting, the Bucks would start every game and every half with a deficit, because he's just kind of a liability out there, and defensively didn't make up for it the way people thought. I give him a D. I think the Bucks got better when they.
That's why a lot of people don't like you, Barrett. That's why. Because you do stupid decisions like that. I'm not giving him a D. I will give him at least a C plus. So I'm gonna outdo that one and say Andre Jackson Jr. will get a C plus, because although he was playing Doc Rivers was playing him, then there's games take him off or don't play him at all. Then finally start using them when you down to your last resort and have to. Although he didn't score much in the playoffs, but he still was good defensively and, making a couple of plays. But wherever Barrett is thinking about is he's off. So
When they took him out of the rotation,
let's see what we're going to say about. Oh, wow. Okay, let's go back to that. So I didn't hear much what he was saying about AJ Green, but we will get to that.
A minus. He did have a little. years old and just still a liability. Hasn't developed anything on offense. So he's better than Kuzma, but overall, I just don't see any value there from what I've seen from him so far.
Whatever.
Next one, AJ Green. I'm gonna give you an A. A minus. A minus. He did have a little drought during the season, but overall, a guy that's getting coached by a guy who doesn't really run a lot for shooters and kind of just has to get him where he can and has to honestly throw up a lot of really difficult threes. Like, how many threes did you see him make this season? Deep, pull-up, transition, like from the hash mark.
Yeah, he was the top 5 with 3-point percentages too, but I think during late in the season he ended up being in the top 10. So, if he gets better with 3-point shooting, I can see him being in the 3-point contest. The next All-Star break. I can see him in there. If they keep Gary Trent Jr., I will see him in there too. Be him, Trent. I don't know. Maybe they have another better 3-point shooter. Like I said, Kevin Porter Jr. was getting a little bit better in his threes. I think he wasn't shooting them at first, but I think he was like trying to get more confident. And he was getting better at it. Like, it was one game, Kevin Porter Jr., I think he hit all his 3-point shooting, 3-point shots. AJ Green, of course, some games he was off and, coach ain't playing him enough. And like I said, he did make some tough shots on the 3. So a future 3-point shooter, probably going to be the master at it. And also, he also did some very good defense. So people were underestimating him in defense. So he did what he can in defense and decent rebounder. And you saw what he did when he was in the starting lineup for the no, he wasn't starting lineup for game 4, but game 5, he was in the shots too. So I actually do agree with Barrett that give him an A minus. So yeah, I do agree. Yeah, A minus. So just to be fair with that, let's move on.
Mark, and just hitting him at an elite clip, 43% from 3 on the season, over.
Yeah, of course.
Positive on the floor, even when he's not making a lot of shots, just because of the spacing he provides for other guys, and the fact that you can at least count on him to not be like an idiot on defensively and completely.
Yeah, he can pass a little bit too. Yeah.
And then the next one is Jericho. I don't remember what I put on my notes for him in terms
Jericho
of
Sims.
Okay, yeah, there it is. And yeah, I agree with this. I think Jericho, I would give him a strong B. I think he came in and
strong B. Yeah, I agree. I think got some good blocks. A 6'10" center that can keep up with anybody on the floor. And I know the Bucks do got bird rights on him, so they can sign him to any high contract they want. So hopefully, they will. Because, he'll be a good backup center. Or if you want to be like a starting center, that'd be good too. You just never know. It was the first time in seasons that, Bucks finally got a good backup big man. Their last big man was Robin Lopez, and he ended up being crap. And they traded him in a trade deadline to Sacramento, and Sacramento ended up releasing him. So, kind of like salary jump, but then again, it's like a 1-year contract, so Sacramento can do that because, they didn't have to, pay him much anyway. So I think it was like a $1 million contract anyway. So, but anyways, one of the best backup centers the Bucks had got so far. I'll say that. Block shots, get a lot of rebounds, and the Kevin Porter Jr. and Jericho Sims connection worked. It was really good. So, if Kevin Porter Jr. gonna be in the bench, or he gonna end up playing with Jericho Sims if he's on a team next season, I think they will have a better chemistry than you see in anybody on the bench, in the NBA period. So yeah, Jericho Sims 25-26, I believe, 25 or 26. So he still got time to evolve, and probably can be a little bit better defensively, and like the alley oops is good and stuff. Like he just gotta rely on himself, like going to the paint and taking in the post up layup and stuff like that. I'm not expecting him to like suddenly, out of nowhere hitting threes. I'm not expecting that. But I think it was better off that he just tried to do some post up game. So ain't nothing wrong with that. I know sometimes you want to spread out. If you're playing with Giannis, then oh yeah, that was a good front court too. With Sims, I think one point they did it in the playoffs with Sims, Bobby Portis, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the good lineup they did, have Jericho Sims playing with Brook Lopez. So he can be, that help that he was that help that Brook Lopez had needed at that time, but Brook Lopez, can't keep up. So I know you gave him a B, but I'm gonna agree with him. Yeah, I will give him a B too. So hopefully, Bucks keep him this all season and just develop him a little bit more, because I think he got the right tools to learn behind Giannis. I'm not expecting him to be like Giannis, but at least take it in, post up, score and stuff. And like they're not expecting him to I'm not expecting him to hit threes. I don't know if they are either, but a good big man that is quick. So that was one of the things they needed all along. So. And I think they keep on for the full next season. I think Bucks will be a little bit better record than they were now, especially like a big man, because they are relying on Bobby Portis to be a center. At the beginning of the season, Bobby Portis was not a good defender, and I don't know where Bobby Portis ended up being good on defense and things like that, getting some block shots. So yeah, still keep Jericho Sims. You probably can sign him to maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe $7 or $8 million a year or something like that. Or if they desperate, they can do more. Maybe $10 million for 3 years or something like that. But yeah, they need to keep him for the next few years. So he's going to be something. But yeah.
I think because of need of how much the Bucks needed what he provided, you could even bump that up to an A- because the Bucks
Hey, he was on him the whole time?
Now you can try Spectrum Mobile risk-free for a full year at no cost to you.
Unbelievable.
And it's just been a glaring need for so long. And
hey, he really had a lot to talk about. But Jericho Sims,
he wasn't able to get any real contribution this season. So
right. He hasn't get that many minutes. I agree.
Uniform last time he was actually able to play real basketball. For the season, he appeared in 23 games, played 5 minutes a game. Really wasn't able to do hardly anything, but the last game of the season, really 1 of 2 games where he was actually able to play real minutes. Mm-hmm. He had 20 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3, 1 steal, 1 block, and obviously the Bucks won the game. The other game, he was given real minutes. Right before the trade deadline, he had 12.7 rebounds. Not as good of shooting, but had a couple steals. He showed some things out there. And so I don't even want to give him a grade, but I think that this was actually a good draft pick. I liked it from the start, and
he's not going to grade him. I can understand that because he wasn't getting that much of a chance with Doc Rivers, so that's fair.
Absolutely believes that this guy could be really good, and I just hate Doc Rivers for not playing him.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. I can't even give him a grade.
Yeah, I can understand that you don't want to give him a grade, so understandable. And it's hard for me to grade him too, so but I know him not playing is not his fault, but I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna grade him either. So
last player we're gonna give a grade to, Con Man. We're gonna do it quick. D plus. I think there was moments where he was out there
D plus for Pat Connaughton. That's funny. Yeah, Pat Connaughton in the beginning of the season wasn't that great, but I think it was weird, the second half, when, you had no choice but to play him at times. he was a little bit better. Yeah, he was a little bit better. Was better shooting his threes and better, most likely he was always taking it in, and they needed somebody, to attack the basket and with no fear and can do it well. So he gave Kyle Kuzma an F, and I think I gave Kyle Kuzma a D minus, but he ended up giving this guy a D. But I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to give him a C. I'll just give him a C. Yeah. Because it's the second half of the season that he was doing well. And he was doing okay in the playoffs too. But, yeah, I'm going to give him a C.
And, like, his decision-making, his creation for Giannis was good.
God.
I think he's been a playoff riser before. But overall, it was a letdown. All right, now we're to the last two, and we're to the real good stuff. Jonathan Horst. D, just a straight flat D. Like I said, I'll not give him an F because the Jericho edition was good, the KBJ edition was good, but both of those, mainly the Jericho Sims edition, it's like, yes, it's good, but you should have then gotten a guy like him for 5 years.
Yeah,
and
true.
The KBJ edition's good, but it's like, I feel like you just got a worse version of what you traded away with your best prospect, BJ Johnson, and your pick swap for the worst player in the NBA, and then after that, you made a secondary move of Kevin Porter Jr., like I said, was good, but he was definitely not nearly as good as Chris Middleton. So.
Oh my God. I knew he was going to mention that man. I knew it. Get off his nuts. Really. I can't believe, grading. That's why he probably graded him a D, because his feelings was hurt when he traded Chris Jericho. What I'm saying Chris Jericho for? I ain't talking about wrestling right now. I would not give him a D because, your feelings was hurt when he traded Chris Middleton. Get over it. Chris Middleton was getting old. He's always injured. And, of course, he comes big in the playoffs. And then I know he's going to throw that in, like, we did good last season in the playoffs. But did he get us past the first round last season? No, he didn't. So... Dane was even playing good, that past playoffs. But they both did not give us over the hump. And it kind of proves, them two couldn't do it. Like, Chris Middleton couldn't do it on his own either. And it was like I said, Chris Middleton is always hurt. So there was times they need him in the playoffs, he was not there. And was during the season, he was always hurt. Because I did a video, showing Chris Middleton numbers, like, after, he got traded, just to kind of shut him up. I don't know if Barrett did saw the video or not, but yeah, no. I'm not giving that man a D. I'm going to be fair with this one, because, great acquisitions, but I know if it was, that time, he traded Jay Crowder for 5 second-round picks, and you give him this grade, I could understand that. But some of the offseason work that he did, and because these GMs and owners are under pressure, especially you're trying to build around Giannis and trying to do what you can, and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does. But this is like the same thing, let's just say, I was going to say Kevin Durant ended up going to the Bucks instead of, Damian Lillard. Like, Kevin Durant is like 36, but he can still shoot. Even, sorry to say, but even he's better than Damian Lillard on offense. But I know, Kevin Durant's defense was questionable, and it's kind of like an on and off switch with his defense. but you had a good offensive player, and you had like Giannis and Brook. But then again, you can't rely on that one because Brook can't even run. C plus, yeah, C plus. So I ain't gonna give him no straight up D. Yeah, C plus, close to a B, but C plus. C plus.
Like, how much credit can I really give you for that? And then the Gary Trent Jr. edition, you might say, well, we got him in free agency.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. He did get Gary Trent Jr. So I'm gonna change my grade from C plus to a B minus. Because you did convince like one of the hottest free agents out there with Gary Trent Jr. You know, play for us for a year, then we'll like work out your contract. Like, because Gary Trent Jr. like on that one, he was betting on himself. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And you know, beginning of the season, you know, Gary Trent wasn't doing that good. But then again, you know, he was up there, and I'm pretty shocked that he didn't talk about Gary Trent Jr. So yeah, I'm pretty surprised about this one. But me, I'm going to grade Gary Trent Jr. It's because it seemed like he didn't put him up there at all. So Gary Trent Jr., I'm going to give him a B. Yeah, give Gary Trent Jr. a B. Like I said in the beginning, you know, slipping, then, you know, after, you know, going from the bench, he picked it up, and, you know, there were some games, you know, he was starting lineup and still was picking it up. So Gary Trent Jr., I'm giving him a B. And John Horst, you get a B minus. A B minus. Who's the last person you...
I'll circle back with the Wizards, and we lost another pick swap. And so, yeah, I give him
Get over it.
And Gary Trent Jr., before I move on to Doc, I'll give him a strong B, maybe a B plus. Downside, he had a really bad start to the season. Other downside, he overplayed at times defensively. At times, there would be games where he was really frustrating because he was really trying to get in guys' grill, and he would kind of just give up easy layups back door. But overall, he was able to make some big plays defensively, being handsy against steals, and showed up with some big games shooting-wise, even in the playoffs. But then you can't give him an A because, like I said, a really bad start to the season, and then on top of that,
yeah, B I can understand. Yeah, that's why I gave Gary Trent.
I'm not going to blame him, but like it kind of counteracts the great shooting that he did to get the Bucks there, to where I'm not going to overly glaze him and give him like an A, but I'll give him like a B, B plus.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
The last one.
What? I was really wanting to see who was the last one.
Not how you would.
Well, you gotta hate these commercials. Okay, Doc Rivers. I thought he was gonna go to
Adrian Griffin getting fired at the middle of the season. Like I'm kind of in the middle about. I'm not like he definitely shouldn't have, because there were real problems with him. Getting Terry Stotts to like want to resign because he cussed him out in front of the team.
Yeah.
While Terry Stotts is on probably right now, I'd say the most successful coaching staff, the Warriors. When you consider they just won Game 1 on the road without Steph Curry, the way their rotations have looked, the way they played as a team, they seem like, to me, eye test wise, like the best coach team in the NBA. And Terry Stotts is a real part of that, and he's a guy that was really successful with Dame to some capacity. And I'm getting sidetracked, but my point is, there was a lot of problems with Adrian Griffin.
Yeah.
But even he had a way better record than Doc Rivers has. And the point of that, the whole spiel is, he replaced a coach that I don't think was good and did way worse than him. And played a role in Chris Middleton getting traded because, the underachieving team that wasn't looking like a contender.
Get over it. Jesus. Like, really, get over it. I'm probably going to say that too. I'm probably going to say that on the comment, but he gave Doc an F. Because he hurting his feelings, once again, because of the Chris Middleton trade. I can't say if Doc was really responsible for that. That I can't say, because I don't know. Nobody knows. Of course, it's easier for people like him to assume, but we really don't know. But yeah, he gave Doc an F. I'm going to give Doc, because you're thinking he would have done better with a defensive coach mind, but have no way to figure out the offense. They were still trying to do the Coach Buzz system with the offense. It hasn't worked. They need to try something else. So actually, I am gonna give Doc. I'm gonna be fair because they did get a little bit better in defense. So cool with that. And I think and part of the filtering is like Doc can only work with the players that's on the floor. So you can't totally blame that on him. But some of the coaching questions that he does, yeah, I can understand blaming him on that. But I don't think it's like enough for him to get an F. I would say C minus. I'll give him a C minus. Because, there were some games, he was doing coaching pretty well. But then again, some games, especially with the offense, he just... And plus, it ain't fair that he didn't play certain players that they were doing good. Then suddenly, the next game, don't play them. So, I'm like lost on that one. So that's why I give Doc a C minus. I wasn't going to give him no freaking F. So I think that was pretty much it. But it was another video that I wanted to talk about that he was on. Okay, yeah, he's gonna talk bad about John Horse. Of course he is. So we're gonna watch this, and I know it's like a long video, and I appreciate you guys like hanging on in there. So I'm gonna try to do this one quickly as possible. Then we can move on. With the because after that it's probably gonna be nothing to talk about, but about comic book stuff. So we ain't gonna talk about no Milwaukee development because I think I did all that in 4 videos yesterday. So there's no need. But I am gonna play this video, and I'm gonna try to do it as quickly as possible, and we'll see. But oh crap! I forgot to comment on that video. Okay, so.
All right, and so.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in on this video. Let's see. Okay, yeah, he didn't leak that. Y'all disagree with anything? Yes. Because you can't always just blame certain people for what you did. And yeah, you got some of these followers that are like more of idiots than anything. And, most of these followers are most likely in the young side. So that's barely what it is. They're on the young side. Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't grade Ryan Rollins either. So yeah, there were players that he did miss. Like Stanley Oubre. Of course, I'm not fair to grade him because he didn't prove himself enough. So I'm not gonna grade him. Liam Robbins. I think he didn't get that much fair of a chance. So he was okay. So I will say I'm not gonna be fairly grade him, but they did at least try to play him some. But they just I'm not going to grade him because Doc didn't play him enough before they let him go. As for Jamie Boram, not going to grade him because didn't play him that much either. They signed somebody else. Oh, Pete Nance. So yeah, so they do got Pete Nance for next season with the 2-way contract. So he didn't even use Pete Nance since they got him. He only used him like a few games, and plus, 2-way players can't play in the playoffs, so maybe he would have proved himself then. But the 2 games that I saw Pete Nance play, and there were some others, but he didn't really play that much. He probably played like 2-3 minutes. But the one game that he was in the starting lineup, and another game he played. I'm sorry, both of those games were like very, very pretty good. But I'm getting. I see the future with Pete Nance, especially saw him half the season with Philadelphia is playing pretty great. So I guess I can grade him. I'm gonna grade him B plus. Yeah, I'll grade Pete Nance a B plus because, like I said, it wasn't fair enough that he didn't get to play much, although he was like on a 2-way contract. But hopefully, next season he'll get his minutes and stuff like that. Hopefully, he get to play. He can play, a little bit better. Like shoot the three, and also surprised me with the defense. He good because I know he was going to offense, but yeah, way good on defense. So if you want like a backup power forward, if there are times you don't want to use Kyle Kuzma, Pete Nance is your guy. And plus, this was his rookie. Was it? Yeah, it was his rookie season. And really stunned that the 76ers let him go. So, pretty stunned. But yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about Livingston too. So, that's a good thing to mention. Oh wow. Chris Livingston, I'm not gonna grade him either because I didn't think he'd get that fair of a chance, but he was killing it in the G League. And he showed flashes that and plus he grew like 2 more inches. Like now he's 6'8" instead of 6'6". So and there was times when the Bucks didn't have no center, they had to rely on like Brook Lopez, but had to get like a backup center. There was times he was playing center, and he has the energy and can rebound. Like I think I just didn't see enough of him scoring on those games. But like I said, he was killing it in the G League. I would give him a C plus. I would give Chris Livingston a C plus. I know he can improve in that, but just hopefully Doc will actually let him play. But okay, let me get this comment in before okay, they won't let me tag him, so I'm just gonna say, dude, stop crying over the Chris Middleton trade. It's done, and it's over with. He's not coming back. Like, really, leave him alone. I'm going to be at least PG about this. So get off his tip. That's kind of like my new saying, though. About trying to say like the clean version of what I was going to say, so I'm just cleaning it up a little bit. Get off his tip. He's always hurt. And let's see, and the only excuse you use, is the few games he had good numbers. And last season's playoffs, which with him, we did not advance to the second round. Hashtag get over it, kid. He may respond to that or he won't, but especially when he did that video like after the trade deadline when Middleton was already traded, I said like it needed to happen. So, let it go. He's like, shut up, WFSO. Then he put me on a timeout. See, grown man cry about Chris Middleton and like, oh, put you on the timeout. Like, you ain't seen nobody cry. But then again, social media wasn't like out there yet. And you don't see everybody else crying when Ray Allen got traded. Well, everybody was upset, but no, they wasn't like, oh, I hate this organization. They should never get up or take it out on anybody because they did that trade. Like, yeah, we were upset. But, we had no choice but to move on. And that's what we did. Ray Allen is going to always be, one of the best Buck players that we had. And still being like in the top 10 Bucks of all time. But, it sucks. Like, it really did suck. We end up getting Gary Payton and he only stayed for like half the season. Then, his wife was whining and complaining that she didn't want to be here. Then, end up left him. Then suddenly when we had his son, Gary Payton II, he will show up to a lot of games and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, really? And you call yourself you hate it here? It's just bad and bad. Let's see. Worst move of John Henson's tenure. Oh, so that's just going to talk about the worst moves. Okay. We will do that. So, like I said, I'm going to be quickly as possible and try to do this. For so-called, 16-minute long video. And yeah, this was done yesterday, so.
John Horst. Jonathan. John Horst. A guy that really doesn't get a lot of slander. And I think I maybe done my part in saying, like, Jimmy Haslam is the real core of our problems. Because I do feel like you can overcome a bad GM if you had a good owner. Things could change. You can fire him up.
He just can't get Jimmy Haslam's name out of his mouth. Like I said, Jimmy Haslam is not the only owner. I don't get why he said that. He made it seem like, Jimmy Haslam is like the one and only like owner of the team. He just ended up buying Lark Lassery's share. Which, with him and Wes Anders, it was 50-50. So, then again, they had other partners in there. Jamie Diane, that one lady that's from here brought like some of the team. Julia Brisman did, now owns some of the team, but rest in peace to him. Because he did die when he was at a, it's something like a meet and greet. People meet him and talk to him, interview him and stuff like that. Yeah, he died. No, rest in peace. Glad, but then again, his ownership probably going to be transferred to, like, maybe one of his children. And probably, like, his other businesses he had, with Wendy's and it was all other businesses he had. Like, half of them was in Milwaukee and the rest of them, was, like, all around the United States. And plus, owner of, I think it was, Jet Magazine. So, Junior Bridgman did good for himself. And it's just like, my point is, you cannot blame one owner for, whatever the Bucks decide to do. You got to look at all the owners. We have, like, I think it's like a total of 10 owners, but Wes Ems and Jimmy Haslam and I think Jamie Dimon are the three three of the top three of the owners in the Milwaukee Bucks. So I don't know why he's blaming on one guy, and it's just stupid. It just really is.
Eventually, then things will get better. So Jimmy Haslam is still the biggest problem because even if he fired John Horst, I don't believe in him to hire somebody else that makes sense and then stay out of the way. But we can't let John Horst go without being accountable for being maybe the worst GM in basketball. Because even the stuff that people try and give him credit for, I'll dabble into and show how they're really not that great of moves. Even his best moves aren't really that great. And then we're going to get into all the stinkers. Not all the stinkers, but the top 5 stinkers he's had. All right.
I want to see this.
To talk about this one, we'll start with an honorable mention here. And this is the 2020 draft where R.J. Hampton was traded away.
Why you got draft 17?
Now, this was a part of the Drew Holiday deal, but I just want to mention this because the Drew Holiday trade is what everybody that defends Horst says, well, you can't just look at the bad stuff when he brought Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday helped us win a championship. It's
True.
like, well, outside of the Hawks series, he underwhelmed the entire run to the championship, especially offensively, especially in the biggest games. But
That first season that Drew Holiday was with the Bucks, he actually played good. He's over exaggerating. Like, of course, he did step up in the Hawks series, when Giannis was out. Understandable. And he did have some good game moments in the NBA Finals. So, but then again, you gotta look at it. The last season that Drew Holiday was with the Bucks, he got cooked by Jimmy Butler, who was like 3 inches taller than him, and he got cooked, and plus he was getting older, but also the good thing for Drew Holiday as well, he was in the All-Star game that final season, because once again, Chris Middleton was out. He stepped up. Like, he probably wouldn't be in the great second option, but he was a decent third option. But I guess it was just his age, was just getting the best of him, and it didn't show that. And plus, he get traded to Boston. He don't have to be the third or second option. He can just be the fourth or fifth option, and it worked better for him. But this season he wasn't doing that well. So for some people, age does catch up to them, and this fool probably ain't gonna realize it until later on when he gets older. Because I think he was Barry was early 20s. So kind of proves that your brain don't be functioning right until you get at least 25, and he's not there yet. Not really functionable. But anyways, he's talking about the 2020 draft pick.
regardless, when you even look at that, could you say, yeah, it's probably a good trade? Yeah, probably. You got rid of Eric Bledsoe, who was just an atrocity in the playoffs.
Yes.
A liability. And, you only gave up a couple first-round picks, so, it's not a bad move. I would say it's probably a little bit good, but people acting like that this is something that should escape him from criticism. When you look at it, the 2 draft picks he gave away, one of them, sure, R.J. Hampton was selected, but guys that were available were Emmanuel Quickly, Payne Pritchard.
But maybe they saw something, or probably when they worked out the trade, that's probably what the team that traded. I think they did a trade with I think Phoenix, I believe. Not Phoenix, but New Orleans Pelicans, and I think they did another trade with another team too. That got Drew Holiday. Yeah, it was all with the Pelicans. That's how all that pick swaps, and they own certain picks and stuff. That's when that all started. But man, grow up.
Jaden McDaniels, Desmond Bain, Xavier Tillman, Trey Jones, Isaiah Joe, and Paul Reed. And so, I bring this up to say, sure, the Drew Holiday trade was a good trade, but you could argue the Bucks would have been better off if they just had a good drafting GM by saying,
okay, you can't blame people for because teams go with best player available, which I don't get, because there's sometimes you're going to go with the position you need instead of the best player available. But that's just me. You get the best player available, it's going to cost you, because, that player you put in that position that the players you have right now they could become better the upcoming season. And that's not going to be fair for, that player not to be able to play. So there's going to be, different measures. It's they always have on the screen when it comes to the trade, team needs center. Go for a center. Or, they need a guard. Go get a guard. Really? Yeah.
saying, you know what, we're going to be patient, and we know that Giannis is going to be here until he's 35. He wants to stay here. And rather than do like a win now move and trade Bledsoe and 2 draft picks for Drew Holiday, you could argue that they would have been better off keeping those 2 draft picks and getting Jaden McDaniels if they made a good draft pick, or even Desmond Bain, who could be there for 10-15.
If you have Chris Middleton and Giannis, both power forwards and small forwards, and I think they had a decent small forward at the time too, and you have DiVincenzo, so, and you had a decent bench, so how's the player that they're going to draft is going to end up getting some playing time? Like, seriously. And we know, they was coached by Coach Bud, so he probably was going to keep, working with the guys that he got and not going to, work with, some of the young talent. But, he did, work with DiVincenzo and stuff like that, so I don't see how getting, like, other players but who they got then is going to help anything. It's just like I said, you can easily, if you're like on the first top 10 picks, go with best player available. Everybody else should go for what they need in the draft. First 10 in the first round draft, go with best player available. Rest of it, them, look for what you need. I just think it's like part of it's just not fair.
Years, and then the second first round pick was used for Yves Macy. So, the Bucks won a championship, so I'm going to say that it was a good move. It was more good than it wasn't. But you could argue that the Bucks would not be in this terrible position that they're in right now, and that they could have won a championship maybe, I don't know, like last year if...
No, they could have won it in 2022, but guess what? Your favorite player was hurt. Ow. See, I heard myself over here talking about this. Because, I'm sorry, but he's a moron. A young moron.
It's hard to say, or maybe 2 years ago, it's hard to say because of injuries and all that. But you could argue that with Jaden McDaniels and like last year's Chris Middleton, that maybe they would have been able to, I don't know, make a run.
Clown. Even if you still had Chris Middleton or you had, Jay McDaniels or whatever, it still won't work. Because, Chris Middleton probably going to pull like a hamstring and can't play for the rest of the playoffs. Like, you can assume, but you don't know. We only go by, what we've seen and what happened. So, it's just funny. It just really is.
So, that's just my only point to bring up and say, like, his best move, it's not like they just got him for nothing. Like, they could have had Jaden McDaniels and or Desmond Bain and then Yves Macy on top of that.
Like I said, they probably wouldn't have an opportunity to play because of who their coach was.
Which would definitely be helping the Bucks out right now.
No.
I'll wrap it up by just saying, I will say I would do the move if he could go back and do it again. I would do the move again. But for that being his best move to defend it on, it's not like we just got him and didn't give up anything of value. But anyway, moving on to his actual 5 worst moves. Number 5, it's going to be right here as you can see on the screen, drafting DJ Wilson. And I'll be fair with John Horst, because I was looking through all the drafts and like
DJ Wilson didn't have that much time to play, and I think I'm off live on YouTube. So, sorry guys, I apologize. I'll probably put on the power saving more, so it can probably would at least like save me some time for like at least next 20 minutes. But I apologize. Sorry about that. So if you're watching right now, you're gonna get the full whole thing, and plus me on screen and where I'm looking at. So anyways, for people watching the live on Twitch, thanks for hanging in there. For the ones that was watching live, I apologize. But let's just move on because I know we gotta try to end this as fast as we can. DJ Wilson, it was like a yes and no situation because the situation he was on. Played some games, and I think probably the minutes he had was not enough. And then again, people be like, "Oh, he should be improving." Some people don't improve just like that. Although they gave him 2-3 years, and like, okay, still didn't improve, you gotta go. It's kind of like sad that they did that with Manja Beauchamp, but I understand the trade, and the trade did make sense for the trade deadline. But at the same time, I think you just didn't give Manja Beauchamp more of a chance. But that's just me.
Like, some of them people say should defend him like, well, you're drafting at the end of the first round. What do you expect of him? And with the Beauchamp draft, that was true. I looked, and there was Hartenstein in the second round. There was Dylan Brooks. And there was a couple other guys. I believe Monte Morris is in this draft. There were a couple other guys that still have hung around in the league for a while and have been solid players. So that was an atrocity.
It happens.
That's only number 5, though, for John Horst's worst moves as GM. Number 4 is re-signing Brook Lopez in 2023. And I say this because,
yes and no. Cause yes, because Brook was still on the top of his game. Yes, because I guess what we looking at now with Brook Lopez is just just kind of faded away and just wasn't that great. Really wasn't. But yeah, maybe they would have been a sucker enough sign him to the like Houston Rockets signed him and they can deal with him. But then again, Houston had like young players that probably can run better than Brook. So who knows if they would have been, better with Brook or better without Brook with Houston. I wouldn't say that's the worst. I would say like it's 50-50. I'll say that. 50-50. Because we ain't going to... Ah, damn it. Sorry. Pull a muscle. Sitting here for so long, and I kind of need to stretch my legs. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just let it stretch. But anyways, crazy things happen when you go live and pre-recorded. So only do one take, and you don't have to do multiple takes. We don't do that. But like I said, I'm going to give that like the worst move of John Hortenchu. This one, I'll say 50-50, half and half. Just put it that way, half and half.
At that point, it was clear that Brook Lopez was on a little bit of a downward slope in today's modern NBA in 2023 even. Just a guy that you can put him in pick and rolls and just get mid-range jumpers galore. Just held on to something that already was showing that.
Ooh.
Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. It turns out one of the fastest growing segments of people signing up for Mint are people over the age of...
was showing that.
Sorry, I think I can't
wasn't
move
working.
just yet.
Like, it was already showing in 2023 that this dude was, at best past his prime and at best very flawed. But it's not even like, they signed him to a massive deal after success. No, it was a first-round disaster, and a large part of it was him being put in pick-and-roll actions defensively, where that series, Jimmy Butler was a big reason he has this idea of playoff Jimmy, where you look at the numbers, that's not really the case. You look at the finals runs, a lot of it is Gabe Vincent going insane, Tyler Hero going insane in the bubble, Caleb Martin going insane in the last run, and the idea of playoff Jimmy is very overrated when you see, yes, he was amazing against the Bucks in the first round. He's had a couple amazing series in his career, but he's also had a few stinkers, and it's just like, yeah, he's a 5-time All-NBA guy, and he plays well in the playoffs sometimes. But the reason that people have this playoff Jimmy idea, I don't think it would be nearly as much if he didn't have that insane series going against Drew Holiday, who was not contesting his shots, and Brook Lopez, who was not able to help out on the screens. But I could talk about that all day long. Next one is going to be Dante DiVincenzo being traded for basically, also throwing Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye, but basically for Serge Ibaka. And this is another one with...
They kind of did need a backup center and forward at the time. Besides, Bobby Portis, they did need another big man at that time. It did suck, they traded Dante DiVincenzo, so, looked like he was going to be on the rise, and look at him today, like he's doing pretty good in Minnesota. So, like, I can understand, why the Bucks did this move. Like, some people ain't gonna like it, and I understand that. Like, I kind of didn't like it either, but it's like, but I think at the time we had a little bit too many guards, and just not enough, big man. Because we were stuck with that earlier this season. Who's gonna back up, Brook Lopez at the time, for backup center? We know Giannis, he'll play some center, but he won't start at center because that he doesn't feel comfortable in that position. And like the same thing, when Anthony Davis was talking about, like he's better at the forward than the five. So it's just some players are just not meant to always play center. So Serge Ibaka, was 6'10", can play power forward and center. And I think, it's Serge Ibaka's time, especially, he was with the Toronto Raptors when they beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019 and ended up winning the championship. So it's like one of those things, like you can't beat that player, pick him up. So I'm 50-50 against one too, so I'm not going to say like that's the worst move. It's like one of those things you understand, but you kind of don't like it at the same time. So I'm not going to totally say this was the worst move he's done. I'm not going to say that.
Like, I mean, at the end of the day, Dante DiVincenzo, he's a solid role player. He's not anything more, so it's completely washed. So I think that's got to be on this list. But just second guessing it, I at least understand the fit. I understand thinking of maybe DiVincenzo. You weren't going to be able to pay him in the offseason. I think that was wrong, so it definitely deserves to be on this list. But maybe I can move it down because the other two, I think I said, first two were more harmful for the Bucks when you see, like, wow, we could have had Derek White instead of sinking DJ Wilson or OG Anunoby or Jared Allen. That shouldn't be number 5. But anyway, to number 2. This is another one where it's like, maybe impact-wise it's not the biggest because it's second-round picks, but it's just another one where it's just like so obviously a bad move. Even if it isn't like franchise-alteringly terrible by itself, 5 second-round picks for a role player in Jay Crowder that I liked him. Like in his prime, I liked Jay Crowder. He was a good role player, but 5 picks for him, and he a guy that had problems with the Suns. They weren't even playing him for half the year. They sent him away from the team. So clearly, his value should have been at an all-time low. The Suns were desperate to get rid of him. I bet you their next best offer they got was 2 second-round draft picks. I doubt they had anything even close to this for Jay Crowder.
He didn't know the full story on this one, and he probably going to mention it too late, but here's the story. Suns traded Jay Crowder to the Nets. I think it was probably some multiple picks. I think a player was involved in that. I'm not sure. But then the Bucks. Bucks was talking with the Suns to try to get him, but I think the problem was the Suns trying to get more out of the Bucks than they actually should. So that didn't work. So traded Brooklyn. Bucks got with Brooklyn and see if they can work something out, and this was the result. So Bucks ended up giving away 5 second-round draft picks that they ended up picking from some other teams, and I think a few of them was their own too. So 3 second-round picks to the Pacers and 2 the 2028 and the 2029 second-round draft picks to the Nets. So yeah, trading 5 second-round picks was highway robbery. So I know he got this as number 2, the worst moves of John Horst Tincher. This would be this won't be the worst trade. It won't be the worst trade of all time, because like I mentioned earlier on, getting rid of Ray Allen was the worst trade of all time. I will put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there, but then again, he wanted to leave, and I know he's regretting it now ever since. But yeah, it's like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You can't say that's worst trades or anything like that. But I know he's the worst move of John Horst. So this was number 1 for me. So he got it at number 2. So I'm gonna be stuck. Or I just caught myself because now I know who he's gonna pick as number one. I already know Chris Middleton. Of course, tip riding Chris Middleton. Get off his tip. And it's sad for probably for the rest of this man's life, he's not gonna ever get over it. Probably when he's like almost dying and stuff, he probably gonna like, oh, I regret that trade. I thought it was a good move.
Crowder. And John Horst, just like an idiot, was betting against probably nobody. If there was really these great offers, they probably would have gotten rid of him well before that. Because like I said, they weren't even
got Jack
involved.
Raff,
They wanted
Cigar,
him to
Juan,
win.
Pablo, Vallet.
So
I didn't even know who he was, and
buying
they
picks
never
for him, it was
used
just
him anyway.
absurd, and he ended up being really bad for the Bucks. Not anywhere near as good as he was on the Heat or the Suns, which was a solid role player. And so again, to be fair to John Horst, it would have been fair to assume that he would have been better than he was for the Bucks. But even like great, the best version of Jay Crowder.
Yep, already know.
Like it doesn't make sense. Again, order, you could argue that one should be lower, but this one is just clearly, without a doubt, number one. This is the nail in the coffin of his resume as a GM. Like I've always said, why I don't give John Horst a lot of credit, because he had nothing to do with the two main reasons the Bucks won a championship: Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh God, grow up! No, it was a whole team collective. You can't just bank it on like every single, the top two players. Ooh, let me see if I can move my leg now. Oh, thank God. Lack of drinking. That's what's going on. Not enough, juice water and stuff like that. So that happens when you have a cramp like that. Not enough liquids. So I can only blame myself for that. So my fault. Anyways, of course, I knew he was going to pick this as the number one worst move for John Horst, because he's as I mentioned, Chris Middleton fan, and only a Chris Middleton fan. He's saying, he got to still, stuck with doing this Bucks channel because, he still ain't over Chris Middleton, and of course, Chris Middleton is the greatest player alive, and they said, Chris Middleton was the best player on the team. I've been saying this for a long time that Chris Middleton was the best shooter at that time for the Bucks, the best shooter on that team. Giannis was always, in my opinion, going to be that best overall player. Although he had no 3-point shooting, but still, not. See it now, still for the third consecutive season, 30 points, over 30 points a game, and decent rebounding, almost 12 rebounds a game. So I think that took a dip a little bit. His assists, I think it went up a little bit. So, and I think hopefully next season, with Giannis, his passing will be a little bit better, and try to rely on your team more. So that's the other problem. He didn't rely on his team. So yeah, that was the other problem. Like Giannis didn't, for the playoffs, he didn't really rely on his team. Then, game 5, he got this triple-double and, start relying on his team. But, okay, that wasn't his fault that, they lost the game. It was the careless turnover by Gary Trent Jr. that cost them the game. So, would have had a game 6. So, like I said, you can't blame the playoffs because, like I said, also in the playoffs, they didn't play Kyle Kuzma that much. So it's like, you still can't get over it. Kyle Kuzma was not the problem because he wasn't playing much. It's just, overall, ridiculous, and it's just sad. It really is sad. So I'm going to come out on this one before we can get to the, the comic books stuff. Okay, let me see the replies on this one. Hop off holiday. I like that. I like that. That part is true. I do agree with that. But it's like you pointing out, defending him for like the bad moves, and you ain't looking at the good moves. So, um, I'm sorry, but like I said, his followers probably young and don't even like think. Like I got young viewers too, but they actually ain't idiots like some of his followers are. See, I don't fault the GM for trying. Yeah, that's a good call. More than anything, they were unfortunate with bad things and injuries, which is true. At the wrong time. For drafting, every team makes those mistakes. Yes, every team does make those mistakes. Of course, we know the story about, John Horst wanted Kenny Atkinson, but they ended up with like Doc Rivers. So I'm not like for or against, that, getting Doc Rivers. Because, like, they still, it's like you stuck with the team you have. You only can do what you can. And I see him, like, at least this season, try to do his best with adjustments. Although the only one of the few problems is, like, he don't play young players enough. He can still say that. How are they going to get... Oh, God. This is funny. How is he going to... How are they going to get Trae Young? Ain't nobody going to take Damian Lillard if they decide to trade him. Nobody going to take him. We stuck with Damian Lillard. And plus, going to be out most of the season, so it make no sense. Okay. I knew you was gonna say that Chris... Oops, sorry. I can't even spell his name. Trade was the worst move that Horst did. You got to let it go. And I'm going to say this, so where, and this card is going to prove how old he is too. So where were you when Ray Allen got traded? And end up with crybaby. Oops. Oh wow. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Let me move that out the way. And we end up, oops, sorry. With sorry. Cry baby Gary Payton. Oh, I'm sorry. It's P-A-Y. Oh, sorry. P-A-Y-T-O-N. Sorry. Learn. No. I'm going to hashtag that. Learn the business. Not always the game. There, that's my hashtag. And although I didn't like graduate out of business class or anything like that, but I did took the business class and learned some things, but couldn't finish, and mental illness, and I couldn't finish college. So although I started like in my 30s, and my mental problems was getting worse and worse. So whatever. Go swallow some meat. I didn't think that man was gonna stress me out, and I didn't think we are gonna spend like almost an hour talking about him. Things you wish, kind of one of those things you regret but don't regret at the same time. So it's crazy. Anyways, let's talk about comic book stuff, like comic book movies and TV news. So Thunderbolts, seems like Thunderbolts simmers 33 million second fame, centers strong 21st million fourth weekend, making sense of the single digit Bows Clown, Saddle Force, and Flight of Flight. So they might not say, I think, hopefully they had the total numbers. After previous Friday and Saturday updates, Disney Marvel Studios Thunderbolts is lower than expected with 33 million the second weekend, but still a great hold for MCU title. Okay, they only said they only dropped like 55%. Which isn't that far from Shang-Chi's 54%, and certainly better than Captain America's Brave New World with 68%. But some things you don't realize, there's people that, go see the movie multiple times. Because, they're comic book fans. And maybe, Brave New World probably would have been a little bit better if, some people like myself would have saw it like a second time, third time, stuff like that. But then again, there are some movies, I'm starting to do, like I did it with Deadpool, Wolverine. Like I go see that movie twice. Because I thought, it was that good. Because it's like one of those movies you do want to see again and it keeps your interest. Like some of us that's, in the comic books, we're going to keep our interest and, invest in. But I know some people are going to say, some of the phases that Marvel Studios having problems. The only issue I had, with the last two phases is the Eternals. It was not bad, but if I had no choice, I would say that probably will be the worst Marvel film they did. But it ain't bad. It just like people wasn't like introduced to them, so you didn't see them,